everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna. This is Coffee, Books, and Bullet Journals. Today I'm going to talk to you about the books that I read in the month of May 2019. Alright guys, so this is a little late. It's been a month already. It's fine. I managed to read 8 books during the month of May, which is not my best month, but it's not my worst month of the year, considering that in May 2018 I was in like the biggest reading slump ever and only managed to finish like 2 or 3 books in that month. There's not a lot of like statistical comparison there. So, I mean, obviously, like, I did better than I did last year, so there you go. Cool, right? So I managed to read 8 books, which totaled out to be 3,341 pages, so I did read some bigger books, and then I also was able to get some of my arcs out of the way. I think maybe one arc. It's cool. Not exactly how I wanted. I did end up DNFing one book. I started reading Again But Better by Christine Riccio, and there was just some things that I was hearing about it. I hadn't really gotten far enough into the book to really find out for myself, but from what I was hearing, I did not think that I was going to enjoy it, and so since I had so many other things that I wanted to read, I decided to put it down. And then I was not able to pick up Serious Moonlight by Jen Bennett because for some reason it won't go from my computer to my tablet, and it's a weird protected PDF. It doesn't want to work. For some reason, it's not connecting. So I wasn't able to read that one either, which is a bummer. But that being said, I still read some really good books, and genre-wise, we were not diverse at all. I read 3 contemporary books and 5 fantasy books. So as you've probably seen on my channel, I'm definitely leaning towards fantasy a lot more. I still absolutely love contemporary books, but I'm enjoying fantasy as like an escape, and yeah, I'm liking what I'm reading. They're definitely like, it's a different reading experience than reading contemporary, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. As far as my average rating, it was a 4.06, so I actually had a really good reading month. I had 3 5-star books, which is cool. So I had 1 2.5 star, 1 3 star, 1 3.5 star, 1 4 star, 1 4.5 stars, and 3 5 stars. So I'd say that was a pretty good month, yes? Okay, cool. So I'm going to talk about the books now that we've gone through the nerdy statistics. I'm going to talk about the books in ascending order, so we'll talk about my lowest rated first, and we'll end on my favorite book of the month. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so my 2.5 star book for the month was When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. This is a book that is about Dimple and Rishi, and they're actually like destined to be in an arranged marriage. Their parents have kind of set them up. Rishi knows, Dimple does not. So there's that, and then they go to this like tech camp at, I want to say it was at MIT. It was somewhere in San Francisco at a college, and they go there for like the summer program, and then that's where they meet, and then he kind of tells her like, hey, you're gonna be my wife, and she throws a drink at him. I think there's a picture of that. Yeah. The pictures in here are so cute. Like Sandhya Menon does that with all of her books, and I think it's just really cute. I think that this was just one of those things that like this book was not for me. I see a lot of 5-star reviews on this book, and I see some 1-star books. And I think that it was just a case of like, this is a book that was maybe a little young for me. It was cute. It was a very quick read, but there just wasn't a whole lot of plot to it. Like, we were just dealing with angst. That's all it was. There wasn't any like huge plot driving anything forward. What the plot there was very convenient, and yeah, there was just like, there were things that would happen and you're like, well, that needed to happen for the plot to keep moving forward, so like obviously that was a thing. That being said, I am just not the target audience for this. A lot of people really, really love this book. And I do love the rep in it. We definitely have a lot of ethnic diversity in here. And as with all of Sanya Menon's books, which I will talk about another one later on in the video. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad book. It's just, I'm not the target audience for it. And so it wasn't something that like I tremendously enjoyed. Okay, the next book was my 3-star book, and this is another one that I feel like I'm kind of in the minority with, although I have seen some mixed reviews on it lately, and that is The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X. Arpan. This was actually one of my most anticipated reads for 2019. They're a book that I really wanted to get to, and it was mostly because I had heard really positive things about this book, and it just didn't do it for me. Things that I liked about this book. I very much liked the mental health rep. I liked the whole aspect of living after the suicide of a loved one, and how the main character has to deal with her mother committing suicide and passing away. And like, there's a lot of conversation that doesn't happen when you're talking about like what happens after suicide and what happens with, you know, when you're the loved one of someone who commits suicide, and how do they deal with all of that. So I liked that. I liked the Taiwanese rep. It was really cool. I got to like learn about some parts of like their culture and their history and their belief system, which was cool. Things I did not like. Why did her dad leave her at her grandparents, who she had never met and doesn't speak the same language, and go to Hong Kong for an undisclosed amount of time? That didn't make any sense. I also didn't really like there was like this theme of color throughout the entire book, which was great. I liked that, but it like kind of kept getting redundant. And so they would talk about feelings as colors. And so they would, like, her and the friend would like, you know, would be mad at someone. They're like, I'm color orange. And I'm like, that's just weird. I didn't get it. And yeah, it just, it didn't do it for me. The other thing that I just didn't really love was the romantic subplot between the main character and the love interest. I don't think I bought it. I think that it would have worked better as like being a platonic friend. Yeah, I didn't like how we went there. Like, here's a thought to YA authors. Not every book needs a romance. Just saying. Yeah, not overall. Like, it was not a bad book by any stretch of the imagination. I know that people have loved this book. I know that this book means a lot to a lot of people. So I'm definitely not, like, bashing on this book. I don't want to do that to anybody. It just wasn't the book that I don't know. It just wasn't what I was expecting, what I was wanting out of it. The next book was my 3.5-star book, and that was There's Something About Sweetie, also by Sanya Menon. This is the companion novel to When Dimple Met Rishi. So Rishi has a younger brother named Ashish, and Rishi's the main character in When Dimple Met Rishi, obviously. And so Ashish becomes the main character, and There's Something About Sweetie, and it is still like an arranged marriage kind of thing with, what is her last? Sweetie Nair, which, like, the one thing that like bugged me throughout that book with her name was like the overplaying on like the puns of being like, well, I'm so sweet, and that kind of stuff. That kind of irked me a little bit. But overall, this book is what I wished When Dimple Met Rishi would have been. I feel like there was more of a plot to this one. I felt like the characters meshed better together. I loved Sweetie and Ashish. I thought that they were the most adorable, cute couple ever. Totally ship it. And I can see that like her writing style has evolved a little bit from that book to this book. I have not read From Twinkle with Love yet, so it's not something, like, I don't know how that bridge happened. I did enjoy the writing style of this one. I enjoyed the storyline. I loved this. There's also a lot of plus size rep in here. Sweetie is a plus size character, which is great. I think that needs to happen more in YA, just so that like kids can see themselves in characters. And yeah, so 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. It was a good YA contemporary. All right, my 4-star book was Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the sequel to Caraval, and I really liked this book. I loved the fact that we were using like tarot cards and fates and utilizing the fates to control your destiny, and it was really cool. So this book follows Scarlett's younger sister, Donatella, and so she is the protagonist in this book. And you still like get to see Scarlett, but she's just like not the main character. And I loved it. I love the two love interests. Dante is the perfect bad boy. And you know what? So is Jax. I kind of like Jax too. Am I supposed to ship that? I don't really know, because he's supposed to be like the villain. But he's kind of cool. So there are some things about Stephanie Garber's writing style that I don't love. One of them being that she's very vague in her descriptions when she talks about colors. So she'll say something is the color of anxiety. What the does that mean? I did start reading Finale, and I've noticed that there's not as much of that in Finale, which is good. I'm glad, because that was definitely a critique that a lot of people have when you're looking at reviews for this book or Caraval. A lot of people say that they don't like it because of how she explains things, which, to be honest, like in Caraval, I didn't notice as much because I was listening to it on audio, and then when I physically read a book, I was like, it was very much more apparent about like when I was hearing that or reading that stuff. Still though, really good book. I love this world. She does a really good job with world building and creating this experience of Caraval and the game and all that. So very much enjoyed it. I don't know if I like it more than Caraval. I gave them both 4 stars. So I don't know if I like it more than Caraval. I think I might a little bit. So I'm excited to continue on with Finale. I've had to put it down for a couple of reasons, but I'm going to pick it up in the near future. Okay, the 4.5-star book for this month was A Dog's Journey by W. Bruce Cameron. This book is the sequel to A Dog's Purpose. I loved that book. I loved this one as well. This author does a really good job making you like feel and care about this character who is a dog. And it's a first-person perspective, but from a dog's perspective, which is like not something you see. I mean, obviously, like you don't see that a lot. So I wanted to read this in anticipation of the movie coming out. I haven't seen the movie yet. I will see it probably when it comes out on Netflix or something. This book was like, this series specifically is if you want to laugh and then like 2 minutes later bawl your eyes out, you should pick up this book. Basically this, and I can't really talk a lot about what this one is because it's the sequel, but the premise of this book is that a dog lives multiple lives in order to fulfill its purpose, and so like it will, like when a dog passes away, it actually is reborn as another dog. And so this is just kind of the continuation of Bailey Buddy. Like he has lots of names. And he starts out as Bailey. I think at the beginning of this book he's Buddy. So the main human character in this is CJ, who is the granddaughter of the main human character in A Dog's Purpose, and so we get to follow her life from the time she's a child all the way up until she's an elderly woman. There were some things about CJ's character that I didn't love. I feel like she was a really big pushover a lot of the times, and there were things that she would do that would be kind of dumb, but at the same time she was a teenager. Teenagers do dumb things sometimes, especially when a boy is concerned. So I couldn't really fault her for it. I don't feel like it's not something that I would do as an adult, but could potentially have done when I was 14. You know, we do dumb things sometimes. So yes, I still very much love this book, and cried a little bit. Moving on to my 5-star reads. The first one, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about. It was not on my TBR. It was just a book that I decided to pick up one day and started reading it. And that was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I've been talking about, Harry Potter is the whole series is a series that I need to finish this year. It is on my 19 books that I want to read in 2019, which I am not doing great at, so gonna need to make that a focus in my next year. But that being said, I was able to finish Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and I very much enjoyed it. I remember this one, like I think I said this with Chamber of Secrets, but I think this one was definitely one of my favorite movies. I love Sirius Black. I love Lupin. I think this might be one of my favorites. This one, obviously, like, you guys know what Harry Potter is, and I can't really talk about it, but it's their third year. And there is a prisoner that has escaped from Azkaban for a reason, and they think it's because he wants to kill Harry. There's Voldemort. There's all this other stuff. If you want to know about it, do a Goodreads review. I mean, I don't know how to, like, talk about Harry Potter without, like, ruining the entire series. So that's the third one. All right, the next 5-star book that I read was and I actually, this was technically April's book, but I didn't finish it in April, so it was the first book I finished in the month of May, and it was because I was part of Rachel Marie Book Junkie's live show for this, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is a reread for me. It was one of my favorite books of 2018, and it is still one of my favorite books of, I don't count rereads as favorite books of the year, because otherwise that's not fair. But I did a lot of annotating. If you can see, they mean lots of things. Every time I reread a book, I like to annotate it. I don't necessarily annotate it usually on my first round or my first go round, but on rereads, I do really like doing it, and I love how there's like so many tabs in here. Lots of world building, lots of quotes. This is going to be a hard book to explain in a wrap up because not a lot happens in this book. And it's very difficult to explain, but it's about a circus. It's like steampunk England, like late 1800s, early 1900s. It's about the circus, or it's this, like, the setting is a circus, but it kind of had, like, they have their own character. Does that make sense? Not really. But it is about two magicians that have been basically, like, destined to become enemies. And throughout the story, they fall in love, which they're not supposed to do because they're supposed to be mortal enemies. So it's this whole, like, life journey of these two magicians, the people that surround them, the people that are a part of this circus. One of the things, like, this is very big on world building. So if you like books that are, like, they can set a scene. The characters have a lot of, I don't want to say they have a lot of development because they kind of did, but kind of didn't. Some of them didn't. But, like, there's not a lot of plot in this book. So if you like those type of books, this is definitely one that you would like lyrical writing, world building, setting, that kind of thing. If you like books that need a plot, this one may not be the one for you, and which is why this book gets really mixed reviews. And in the live show, I was kind of one of the only ones that had, like, a really positive view of it. Most people were like, it was like a 3-star book. So, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, it was a reread. I read it last year in September, I believe. August or September, I don't remember. But I really, really enjoyed it when I read it the first time. And yeah, liked it. Loved it again this time. All right, moving on to my final book, which was probably my favorite book of the month. It was amazing. Vicious by V.E. Schwab. So this was the Literary Alliance book for this month. As I'm filming it, the live show is actually tonight, and I'm excited to talk about it with Crystal and Kylie. I will link the live show up in the cards once we have it. And yeah, I'm excited about it. I have never read anything from V.E. Schwab, but I love her as a human being, and this was so good. This is about two gentlemen who, for their college thesis, one of the guys decides that he wants to research EOs, or extraordinaries, and he finds out that the way to become an extraordinary is to have a near-death experience. So he does. And then the other guy has a near-death experience, so he can become an EO. And then they kind of become mortal enemies, basically. And the thing that I really liked about this book is that there's not a clear and definite good guy and a bad guy. These are very morally gray characters. As she put it in her little, she did like a video message for my group, and she called them the morally gray weirdos. And I felt like that is the perfect definition for these two characters. I'm excited. I'm going to pick up Vengeful next month, possibly this month, although I have like a lot of readathons, and so like I don't know that they're going to fit. So definitely next month I will try to pick it up. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite book of the month of May. I don't even know what month this I don't know what month it is, guys. Anyways, those are the 8 books that I read in the month of May. If you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. And all of the links to my other social medias are in the description below if you would like to be my friend on any other platform. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.